Now we're going to have to be very careful with this fella, because this fella is 20 years old, and old fish tend to have quite low immune systems and very little ability to handle change like what we're about to do. So we need to hope and take all care we can to look after this guy. But the reality is, old fish don't handle this sort of situation like new fish do, young fish. So here you can see the sheer amount of sediment that's through the back of the reef. So you really want to make sure your fish are out by now, because you can have poisonous gases that you're being released while you're pulling all this out. So you really want your fish out before the bottom lot of the rock comes out. So anytime we're storing fish, it's really important that we run oxygen on the fish, particularly if you have more fish per bucket, because during these situations, oxygen is the primary consideration, next is temperature. So we just try to keep the fish in a temperate environment where we feel comfortable, and usually they're okay. Now this is a 20-year-old setup, and one thing that's notable is that there's absolutely no microorganisms at all. Normally when you pull a reef tank down like this, you're going to see heaps of worms, amphipods, copepods and things wiggling around, and they're the worms in the compost heap. That's all your micro life that keeps your filter, keeps your aquarium alive. Now over a period of time, and I'm going to suggest toxic situations, all the micro life is gone. So we are currently overhauling this tank, and then we're going to add some copepods and amphipods and organisms back in to repopulate this situation, because we want all those microorganisms to keep our live reef alive. So there's absolutely no sign of any microorganisms. That means this tank is way overdue for a spring clean, which is exactly what we're doing now. So I would expect a normal healthy tank to see lots of movement here, and I'm seeing absolutely zero. So we will repopulate and turn this into a nice healthy environment again, and this is completely sterile right now. The most sterile I've actually ever seen. I don't think I've ever seen a tank this sterile. Not a single bit of life. Look at that. Yum yum. So that's sort of sludge in the back of your tank. Whoa, watch out. Yummy. So we've now got all of the rock out of the tank, and we have got the fish out of the tank. We've got some water that we've collected to re-put in the tank. Now we are giving the tank a clean up now. Now we're going to replace the sand, because the sand was all completely calcified and dead. Now some people like going for glass bottom tanks, and I admit they can look good once they're all corallined, but in general I can't stand them, because to me a glass bottom tank looks like a science experiment, and the sand really makes it look like a proper ecosystem. So I really rather put sand in. And I like all the micro life that will end up in growing in the sand. So I definitely prefer sand, and the sand will break down over a period of time, but Just give it so much more of a natural, nice look.
Setting bars too high, you've been aiming for the sky, so you could prove it, that you could do it. But once you go forward, you can't go back. You take a step to the side and try to relax, but don't go. No. You keep your head high and your feet on the ground, and you set your mind and you shouldn't back down. Don't go.
Doing the aquascape, what we've done is just try to create lots of places where the corals can be. So there's lots of shelves, and then there's also lots of places for the fish to swim in and around. And then we've tried to create a bit of structure. So we've got the swim through here, then we've just got a couple of different looking reefs, and then once we get all coral on top of that, should be right. We've not used all of the rock. There's no rule that you need to use all of your rock. You just want to dress it up so it looks nice, and don't be attached to using all your rock just because you have got rock. Now over time, we want to make sure that these back areas, you get a siphon pipe down there, give it a good clean out, because over time this will all build up. We don't want to be in the same situation again, which is inevitable.